Good morning, everybody. So a lot of you may know me or have seen me on forexsignals.com. Um, Now you guys may know that I actually discontinued uh, trading for the website and doing live streams as well, just because I had a pretty big loss that happened. It was a mistake. I had one of my scalping EAs running uh, in the background during the presidential election, um, and I was away from my computer. Didn't realize that it was on, and it was a big problem. Ended up crashing, margining my account. Something that hasn't happened to me in a very long time. Uh, so I don't have a webcam today. My webcam is currently not working, but I should have it up and running by tomorrow. Sorry, by later this week. Um, but what this is going to be about today is pretty much we're going to talk about the charts, the news, what to expect, similar to how, if you know me in my streams, similar to how I approach the markets in the past. Uh, Now, why am I doing this? Why am I back? Why am I doing streams again? Well, it's just I'm planning on being back in the market in a bigger way in the next couple of months. I have fifty to $100,000 potentially coming in that I may start trading with again. So that's a fifty to $100,000. That's a lot more than I typically have. So we're going to run down on the markets, what's happening, what pairs are good to trade, uh, and we'll also talk about my EA a bit. This account that you're looking at right here of $523 and just overall market research and technicals and also fundamentals to be expecting this week. So let me bring up my Epic pin so I can mark the charts. So I see a few of you in here already. This is just a YouTube crowd, by the way. There is uh, no people seeing this from anywhere else but YouTube at this point. So this is just to my personal subscriber base. Uh, so let's get right into it, and I'll be open for questions. I'll be looking at the YouTube chat just in case that you guys have any questions as well. All right. So right now, this is the Euro US dollar. So we're looking at this, and uh, we see the big gap. Yeah, that's a pretty massive gap. Fairly unusual to have a gap of 173 pips over the weekend. Um, but if some of you don't know what that gap was caused by, it was actually from oil prices. Now, if you want to read up a little bit on what that was about, you can see that the jump in oil prices after the weekend news on the non-APEC OPEC countries joining the organization, it trimming production. Um, so that oil surge is 5%, and that caused the euro US dollar to really to fall in comparison to the euro. So that's why you have that huge gap. So there's a big gap, and then it almost immediately or a few hours later was retraced in a pretty big way. It basically recovered almost the more than the initial gap. So it's been really volatile this week so far, and since the move from the top to the bottom has been almost 350 pips. It's pretty ridiculous. I wasn't trading in this. My EA wasn't also. There was no action for me in that whole entire area. Um, but if I was actually trading the Euro US dollar and I saw that gap happening, so that 174 pip gap, yeah, I would have considered entering a short position right there. And then the continued fall. And if it didn't happen, if the short that I had and it continued to go up for a bit, I would have had a couple more entries at the top for the pushback down. Now, you guys may know, or maybe you don't, that when a gap happens over the weekend, a lot of times it's the gap is covered. Um, so, for example, so let's say we have this gap here, all right, 170 some odd pips, and then that gap is usually covered after the fact. Not all the time, but a good portion, at least some of that gap is recovered. Now there's a big problem about trading like that because when on Sunday when the market's open, the spreads are usually pretty high in the first few hours of market open. So it can be a little bit risky trying to enter or trying to trade the market at that time. Um, Let me just check to see if there's any questions coming in. Nope, not yet. Um, all right, so really volatile market. I'm not sure if any of you guys were trading in there. Looks like my stream is a little bit sketchy, going in and out. Sorry about that. I'll try to keep an eye on it to make sure that it's not cutting in and out. Okay. So let's go on. The Euro US dollar is the pair to trade this week for me. Yes, it's going to be a little bit volatile. Let's check the news. Okay, so the news this week is pretty heavy. Um, we don't have much tomorrow, but on the 14th, that's when things really start picking up. I mean, you got stuff on the pound, news on the pound, but you have the retail sales, which is always something that does drive the market, but it's going to be um, outweighed by the FOMC projections in the statement, especially the statement in the funds rate. Uh, the funds rate is expected to increase. Now, if that happens, if they do increase, then I would expect the U.S. dollar to gain quite a bit of value. I'm not sure how much, but I would guess in the 100 to 200 pip range, maybe more. If they don't raise the rates to 0.75%, and they keep it at 50, then the euro will likely take over and the USD will lose some value on that day. So keep an eye on that. But I am expecting them to raise those rates. There's too much weighing on not for them not to raise those rates. For example, Trump coming into presidency, that's a big deal. The markets have already gained in value on the USD because of him coming into presidency, and what changes will happen because of that. Um, so that rate, that's just one aspect. There are some things that can cause um some people to be a little conservative with raising those that rate. But the overall picture looks pretty positive USD for at least the medium term. Okay. Um, so this is the big thing, the big news this week. All you guys have to really be careful with how much risk that you're trading because it will be volatile no matter what is decided, whether it's an increase or left the same. I don't imagine the retail sales moving the market too much in it because it's that same day. It's going to be overshadowed by the FOMC. Later in the week, there's still some pretty heavy news. There's the core CPI and the Philly Fed. Those those typically by themselves are not huge unless the numbers are pretty drastic, but together they could cause some volatility. And then of course the pound is also receiving still some pretty big news. The monetary policy statement for the CHS for the Swiss franc is also happening, so some volatility on that pair as well. So let's move on to Friday. Not much on Friday. Just building permits. That's probably not going to do much to the market. All right. So what I'm looking at right now is to potentially trade the Euro US dollar. Now, why am I looking to trade the Euro US dollar? Because of the news regarding the FOMC raising rates. I think that they will raise rates, and so I am expecting the Euro US dollar to be on the downside. If it's not, if they do postpone raising those rates, then it will likely shoot up a bit, and I would enter uh, some I'll re-enter some trades at certain levels where their support and resistance is, with the hopes that I'll catch the continuation of the trend back down on any of those points. Uh, so right now, we've had the recovery of the gap, and it's now currently shooting back up a bit. I'd be looking for a place for a short position on the downside, considering that on Wednesday, that's when the big FOMC news comes out. Um, so what we're looking at is trying to find a place to enter. We're waiting patiently for that time to happen. So let's zoom in a little bit. And we're looking at the candlesticks. We're seeing if there's any hints that that they're giving us to potentially short the pair on the continued downside. Right now, there's not much. The candles are pretty small. They're not very volatile. Well, considering how they were earlier. Um, but we've actually had it bottomed out at 1.05278, and it has moved up about 100 pips since then in the last 10 hours or so. Now, what I'm looking for is some kind of reversal candle or an inside candle to help um, or give us hints that this will start to head back down. Nothing has happened yet. So I'm going to keep waiting out on the Euro US dollar for a potential entry to see when this will start topping out and then gradually make its way back down, or it could even be pretty abrupt. But if we look at the longer picture, we'll see that this has moved down a lot, and it's been in a downtrend for quite a long time now. We're talking about since since May of this year. It's moved down quite a bit. Okay, yeah, I'm not really sure of my feed. It could be some interference on my side. Um, and so hopefully it continues. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so the Euro US dollar has been in a downtrend for a while, and I believe that's going to continue with the pressure on the euro. The euro i- euro conditions are pretty rough. Um, the European Union still going through turmoil with the pound and the Brexit. The they're still trying to figure things out, and right now their outlook's not looking great, in my opinion. Okay, the USD is looking much better. They're maybe going to raise rates, um, and so the outlook for me is a continued downside for the Euro US dollar. Now I haven't taken any trades yet. I might not take any trades on this $523 account because this account is actually being reserved for my uh, EA. So my RMI inside candle EA. As you can see, the performance has been really good so far. 4.78% gain since I started this account back on November 17th. Um, but I might take some things on demo or on another live account. We'll see. Okay. So let's move on to the next pair because I don't want to take too much time here with you guys. I'll probably stay on for maybe another 15 minutes. We'll talk about a couple of pairs. And if you have any questions, I can also answer those too. Um, all right. So let's move on to the pound. The pound also had this pretty big gap, about 117 pips. Uh, that gap wasn't really recovered very much. It was recovered just a little bit, but well, not like the euro by any means. It was only about 25 pips or so. This the pound, I think that it will continue to rise, potentially rise a bit. We are at a support resistance point right now. So the resistance here, it could easily hold. We're marking the resistance from the previous, and we're looking at the current market, and we are at a half number. So you can see that it's at the 1.26561. So there's a half number there. I'd be looking to see if if this current candle, so this 1 hour candle, closes above or below that resistance line that I marked as the resistance point that previously happened. We're going to see if that resistance point actually holds. Now, if it does, and if the body of the candle closes below the red marked line at 1.26561, then there is potential for this to reverse and make a retracement in this move up. Now the retracement I would find probably to be limited since this has had quite a big move up already. I'd look for the retracement to bottom out at one of these two levels, or even here as well. So one of these three levels, and then the continuation back up. So the next 15 minutes, we'll look at the pound USD to see if the body of the candle does close above or below that point. If it closes above, and if it closes pretty strong, there's a pretty good chance that this will continue to climb up. Excuse me. Okay. The US dollar Japanese yen. Now, we know that the correlation when this is moving up, the UJ is likely moving down. It's not all the time, but the correlation does have a pretty big effect sometimes. This is moving up and moving up since the 8th of December. And we have a pretty decent trend line here. Bottom, top. You could even consider this one. It's quite small though. Okay, so we're looking at this. And then potential continuation on the way back up. Okay, so I mean that's like what I like to call the continuation of the trend or the staircase. I mean you can kind of pick which ones you want as the most obvious, um, but you do want to keep an eye on these levels here. It's looking like this candle with the large wick. It's looking like it's pulling back with the potential for more on the upside, using that or this area even as um, a support line with the continuation possibility. Okay. Um, so definitely on the upside, I'd be taking trades on only long trades on the UJ. I'd be looking for entries. So good places to potentially buy uh, the UJ. I mean, the retracement's pretty big. It's 75 pips from the top to the support line there. It may be a little bit late on the entry right here since it's already about 10 pips above that, 15 pips. But it's still a decent place to enter, especially if it pulls down just a bit more in the next 10 minutes or so before the hour. The UJ. Now we had almost a decent reversal candle here. It made a new high, but the low of the body of the candle didn't break. It didn't close below the open of the previous candle. It's not a really strong reversal pattern when it comes to the technical side of the candles. Um, so nothing I would have traded, but it was near this resistance level here, um, which also held a number of times in just the past a week or so. And on the 4 hour, it definitely shows even more of this resistance point. Now we have a double top here, and then is it going to be a triple? It's going to be a triple top. We hit it. Is it going to break through, or is it going to continue back down, make another retracement, back down to our support level at near 120.770 or 121? The whole number is right about there. Yeah, 121 is right at that level pretty much. So that would be a good place for a retracement. If you guys want to counter trend this pair, it might be a fairly good time to do it since we already had previous top out there. and then a second one, and it did obey on the second one with a smaller retracement. And then the third one with the potential for another retracement. Now we don't know how far this one's going to go. It could hold below this level or above if it's going to continue at some point, like right here, and then eventually break, or it could just play that level over and over again, depending on how people are feeling. But the FOMC is coming out on the Wednesday. I'd imagine that eventually this is going to break either above or below because of high volatility. Okay, so right now we have some support resistance areas that are being hit. We have this one that was already broken through. There was the potential for it to hold, as you can see here with the wick of the candlestick. It almost closed below the resistance here. So this candle is what I'm talking about. It just barely closed above, uh, and it was still pretty strong, a pretty strong close. But there was the potential for it to move down from that point. It didn't. So now the next point that we're looking at is here, and the resistance up here. Is this candle going to close below that? If so, how much? Does it look good, bad, good? Is there potential for this to finally reverse at that point and have a retracement? I guess we'll find out. All right, so let's go back to the pound USD. It's still looking like it's going to close above that level at this point, with only about 9 minutes left of the hour. All right, so let's look at those two points and see what they look like in the previous data. Um, there was a point in time where there was a small resistance that was placed there. Not really heavy. We go back, we see that that resistance point was a support on August 31st. Okay. It was kind of a support here. It was a little bit sloppy. There was a point where it bounced there, it bounced here. It did go break that level, and then eventually did there. Um, so that level is not it's not incredibly strong. There were points in the past that it was actually obeyed. Like here, it was a point where it actually uh, jumped and reversed from that point. So we'll have to see. I mean, right now there is still not a ton of movement from the bottom, about 200 pips. This could easily continue to move up, um, but we'll keep an eye on this candle to see how it continues to react to that level. It is a whole number, so that gives it a little bit of extra um, confirmation if the candle body of the candle does close below that whole number. This would be probably the best opportunity in my eyes for a counter trend trade, at least today. Since we don't have any really good trades yet on any of the other pairs, there's the potential for this one here on the Euro Japanese yen, um, and with the support clear support here. Um, so there's that one as well. I would probably be more uh, probably looking at the Australian USD more than the Euro Japanese yen. Okay, I also marked the current price up here. There was an inside candle uh, right here, an inside bearish candle on the pound, the odd Japanese yen. Now I checked that out to see how that level was, if there was any importance in the past. And you can actually see that it was a pretty important level in previous data. We see here, here, and also pretty close to there as well. That area on the market, it looks to be a pretty heavy uh, resistance area, at least in the past. Now, that's a kind of a hint, maybe not the best opportunity on this pair to take a trade right there. But remember the one I was looking at here on the odd USD, how the potential reversal there. Well, that is a little bit more of a confirmation on a cross. So the odd AUD. It's showing that the Australian dollar has been really strong against other currencies, and it's been moving up in a big way. But at least on the technical side, it's setting up for a retracement back down. How much we don't know. It could be limited, but it's looking like that could be the case with a weakening Australian dollar on the technical. Okay. uh, so moving on to the CAD Japanese yen. Now the uh, CAD is a very heavily influenced by the oil, and so it's been a bit dramatic for the CAD, even with the opening of this week. Maybe not as much as the Euro US dollar, but there was a gap as well. This has been on the uptrend. That's a pair. The CAD Japanese yen is a pair that I don't trade too often. But if we look at the current trend on it, it's been pretty heavy even since November 7th. Pretty straight, really clean. Um, and if we go to the 1 hour, it's pretty good trend to even uh, looking at the levels. You can mark some of the minor levels too in here. But for the most part, we do have higher lows, um, and this continuation is pretty steady. Okay, so no trades on this pair at the moment. If I was going to take anything, probably long on the long side, um, but I would probably stay away from the CAD right now, considering all the oil news that's been coming out this week. Euro Australian dollar, very volatile, as you know, and since the opening of this week, it's been crazy, crazy pip dives and bounces on this pair. So, and the craziness happened actually at the end of the last week, so on the 8th, and the beginning of this week has been pretty quiet actually. It's been on the downside. It's currently hitting a support level down here near the 141 level. So we still have about 50 pips before that level is clearly hit, but there is some support there that you should be watching for. Probably not the best area to enter a trade down here. We're right near the bottom, so if we're wanting to short, I would wait for more of a retracement on the upside before entering back down on for like a short position. Because yeah, it could easily just continue down from here, guys. I mean, it looks like it's already on its way. But the thing is that we are so low. So if it decides to bounce from here, it could bounce in a huge way, and you could get caught in something that you don't want to be in. Um, so if it does bounce from there, it could be substantial. But I would wait for that retracement to happen with some reversal candle and then go on the downside. All right. So the pound Japanese yen also in a big uptrend. The trends have just been so strong lately. It's crazy. Um, and for those of you that know me, I'm a counter trend trader, um, and or have been for quite a while. And it's been difficult with all of these massive trends, um, and these small retracements. Now, typically, I look for those of you that don't know, I look for the retracements on those moves. So um, I look to enter on the short side there, and here, there. And that's kind of what I try to do. I try to get those small hits of profit during a bigger move. But the thing is that a lot of during this type of market behavior, the cutbacks or the pullbacks have been pretty small on most pairs. So the pullback here, pretty small. Pullback here, pretty small. I do shoot for smaller amounts of pips on those pullbacks, but some of them have been so clean on their move on their trends that there's not much of a pullback at all. So the pound is kind of slowing down at this point. It's looking like there may be a reversal happening in place right now. So we're gonna mark that level, and we're gonna see if that has any significance. We saw that it was used as a support back on the 9th of June, and that was pretty much the most recent one. So we don't know if that's actually going to take effect. There may be an inside candle developing at this point, a bearish inside candle, uh, for the potential for this to have a retracement at this point. It has moved a lot. It's bound for a retracement at any point. When that will happen, it's hard to tell, but we can get some hints with the price action on the technical side of when that might happen. Now on the 4-hour chart, this candle doesn't close for the next. It doesn't close for the next 3 hours, so you might be waiting for a while to see what happens there. But on the 1 hour, it does. I mean, we have a wick here, got the wick here, we have the wick here. It's looking like this is wanting to hold at this point. Doesn't mean that it will right now, but it's likely, or the best idea is to wait till the 4-hour candle is done to see if it's going to close inside as a bearish candle. And if it does, then uh, that is maybe that's a hint that this could have a retracement at that point. Okay, so the U.S. dollar CAD. Now, this has had a pretty big push in the last hour or so, and then this this candle just opened 1 minute ago. And this has been on the downside in a big way. Um, Oil has pushed this down, as you can see. So big trend on the downside, especially since the mid-November. I'd be looking for a retracement, and because of the pressure of the oil, I would expect this to continue to move down. It's looking like the retracement of this was quite small down here, pushed back up, peaked out, and then it's continuing to move down. So for me, downside definitely on the US dollar CAD. Be looking for another potential retracement and then maybe another entry on the downside. Okay, so we're going to take a look at our pound USD. Now it did close just slightly above our red resistance line. Not great. Means that it's probably going to continue to shoot up. There was a little bit of pullback, but in my opinion, I would want it to close a few pips below that red line I marked, and it didn't quite do that, so it's going to continue on the upside, likely. Okay, so the similar situation here. Uh, the Euro Japanese yen. It's playing this level right now. We have had a couple of 1-hour candles that close below it, but it is giving a little bit of support there, pullback at that point, acting like it wants to continue to shoot up from there. I think it will play this level for a while today, eventually deciding if it's going to launch up or down. But it's probably going to play that level. It could be a while before it actually moves. Odd USD. Now this is still my best pick of trade for trade today. Um, this the wick, and this is where I'll end as well today. The wick of the 1-hour candle closed a few pips below our marked 74995, which is basically the whole number, and this is what should continue back down from that point. And the earliest resistant support level I would say is the 74878. I mean, that's not that many pips. So if I was trading this pair, I'd be looking for a profit of probably only about 8 pips on this. If I was a little bit more daring, I'd probably shoot for uh, the support resistance that happened back here. And that would be quite a few more pips, about 43 pips. So yeah, there's in my mind some definite support there. of resistance and in the possibility of a retracement there. All right. So that's my pick for trade. I'm going to leave that up just in case I come back here tomorrow for the few of you that were in here today. And I will take a look at how our trade actually ended up doing and how much it fell back down. We'll look at this level here to see if it did actually go and break that level at 8 pips, and then we'll also see the level down here to see if the retracement was bigger than that. All right, and thanks you guys for being supportive and watching the feed, and I hope to be back in a bigger way, potentially maybe even back on forexsignals.com. To show you some more candle patterns, EAs, investment things, and stuff like that. All right, we'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.